Welcome back to Need for Speed The Run. Today we are going right up into the Rockies, so that's going to be fun.
The Colorado Rockies specifically, not to be confused with the ones in the country I'm from.
So our first stop is Interstate 70.
The Log Hill $1 Million Highway is a hell of a name for something.
Oh, I know. This is some very intense racing.
Well, I mean, I don't know how Lambos perform on snow, per se.
We're about to find out, unfortunately.
That guy's a jerk.
Come on, Jack, get it together.
Watch out, Jack, it's about to get icy.
Also, look at all those people passing you that doesn't affect your position somehow.
Remember how I talked about there being a graphical glitch whenever you go on dirt or anything that has particle effects?
Yeah, I saw it.
I did figure out what it was.
Oh? Enlighten us.
As it turns out, if you put the VSync on, then you don't get it. But that also kills your frame rate and puts it down to like 24 frames a second, I think. I care a lot about doing 60p content, so we're doing this thing. It's happening.
And I mean, they do create kind of very impressive snow trails as they go.
I don't think of this as a handicap. I think of it more as badly done immersion.
I know a lot of games do ice physics with, you know, varying degrees of success. I'm very curious to know if a game does snow physics well at all.
We will get there.
I'll bet if we can see anything.
Yeah, at this point, trying to make any overtakes when you can't see is a risky gamble. Especially when Nissan Titans come at you like that.
Well, civilian traffic in Need for Speed is, in fact, the worst, so...
It is certifiably the worst. So I'm just going to take my time here. I'm going to try not to be too aggressive, but when we get an opportunity where we can actually see, yeah, I'm gunning for it.
Well, good get so far. You've got 3 to go and 2.8 miles with which to do it, and you passed a crash I wish I could have commentated on because I couldn't see it.
Yeah, you'll find that happens often. So we just made number 10, which means that all we have to do is hold the lead, but it's easier said than done. Interstate 70 has a lot of blind turns because you're mostly going uphill and you're on a cliffside, so every right turn I make, I can't see the exit. Not that I could see it normally, but especially so.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about blind turns, I think that's even when you're not accounting for the fact that approximately half your screen is covered with snow at any given point.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, learning how to drive with these particle physics on, this is an acquired skill, let's say.
Yeah, and, you know, I'm prepared to just call them snow physics if you are.
No, there are different snow physics, and we will get there.
Well, from what I can kind of surmise from what I'm seeing currently, they seem to be following the school of, oh yeah, snow, it's that thing that's like sand that falls from the sky, right?
Pretty much. We still haven't quite gotten rid of the badly rendered snow.
Not as such, but hey, with sub 100 positions to go, it looks like you'll be out of it before you know it.
Yeah, well, we're actually making good time. Believe it or not, that was still my fastest time on this event.
Again, your ability to impress under the most adverse conditions is an inspiration to us all.
Thank you. I'm flattered. Let's move on to Glenwood Springs. It's a little bit different than Interstate 70. So it starts off kind of boring. You're still on the interstate, but it's a very wide interstate.
And it looks like someone just tried to take a shortcut and failed miserably.
Yeah. You can technically get a better time if you take that shortcut and go in the oncoming lane, but between the oncoming traffic and other cars trying to avoid it, it's a total crapshoot. Especially when we're dealing with the cops here, too.
Oh, 5-0 wants a piece.
They do.
The whiteout won't stop him.
Target attack on hardtop. Code 3.
Let's just sit in the oncoming and blast our nitrous all the way down.
Fair stratagem in Need for Speed if I've ever seen one.
It is.
Again, though, I maintain you're somewhat of a madman for attempting it with this many particle effects flying around.
No visual at this time.
I will take that as a compliment. The Lambo is awesome for this, by the way. This particular Lambo is rear-wheel drive, but it sure handles like an all-wheel drive car. It handles really well. It really does feel like the car is impeccably balanced. It just goes where you point it.
Well, Italian federal police have good taste.
Nothing's working. Gonna change up my tactics here.
Yeah, well, we're not actually having the Carabinieri, you know, chase us.
Oh, but if you were, though...
Oh, if we were, we would never get away. But why should you have Gallardos when the cops have magic pursuit powers and rubber banding?
Central Patrol, I need a 1073 on deck.
Yes, truly, it's the greatest supercharger of all of them.
Oh no, Lincoln Navigators can totally go as fast as a Lambo.
Code 6 got through, we got through. Damn it, maintain pursuit, maintain pursuit. Already spin mobile, go, go, go.
I mean, I might believe it if they were in those weird carbon motors concepts that were in Hot Pursuit 2010, but that's neither here nor there.
So you'll notice me trying to avoid that black patch. That's actually ice.
Oh.
So he's brake checking.
There are ice physics in this game, and Glenwood Springs is about where you get them.
I can respect the fact that they actually acknowledge that ice patches are a thing as opposed to just being a continuous surface.
They are, and it is really nice that they put that in there. It kind of shakes up the pursuit a little bit.
Okay, get him now.
I don't quite know how I feel about sand from the sky as of yet, but hey, I mean, if most other games can't get that right, why should I expect this one to?
Cut him off.
Well, this game does get a lot of things right, but snow is not one of them.
I'm the unreasonable one, really.
You'll also notice that the cops are going after no other vehicles, just the Gallardo.
Well, they think they can take out the loser in third, but no. I can see nothing right now. Just your HUD, and that's it. Are you just navigating by mini-map at this point?
That section I was actually navigating by mini-map.
Very well done.
Thank you. Fortunately, we get a little bit of breathing room as we go down here toward the finish. We avoid another narrow patch of ice, and we go on our way. You'll find that the run is kind of a bag of dicks with where it puts ice.
Well, clearly, as we're establishing now, extreme mode isn't quite enough for your taste either. It's got to be 60 frames with no visibility.
I believe in challenges.
And I keep believing that Jack's going to wipe out a turn when he's in that cutscene.
Nope, he pulls it out. Hey, look, it's our next boss event.
Do we get to look at his ass too?
For most of the race we do, actually.
Alright.
They drive as a crew, Jack. Stay sharp.
Thanks, Christina Hendricks. I totally couldn't figure that out.
Admittedly, it's a good piece of information to know when your supposed 3 rival racers are all actually in cahoots.
It is. So Cesar and his hype boys are pretty interesting. They all drive El Caminos, which makes it really weird that they can outturn a Gallardo. All 3 of the bosses have their own boss AI. Like, the hype boys are not any faster than Cesar. So really what you have to do is you just have to pick your moment. You'll notice here that I'm actually driving pretty conservatively. I'm waiting for the El Camino to wipe out, and I'm just going to try and see if I can sneak by him. Like this.
Well, you're able to take a very nice inside line there to avoid the civilian traffic as well, but
I was.
nicely done.
Thank you. Fortunately, there was a little tiny bit of a bank, which I was able to leverage. You'll notice that as I go through these hairpin turns, I am skidding out a little more than I normally would. And that's because when you're driving on icy roads, even if it's not actually ice, you have just that little bit less grip. Which makes dodging traffic a little bit of a pain, though admittedly I should have probably moved over earlier for that one.
I'll just chalk it up to trying to keep things exciting. My heart did stop for a couple of frames there. So I will say that this actually isn't the first time I've seen this race. The first time I did, I thought Cesar and his brothers were actually in Camaro double S's for some reason.
Nope, that's an El Camino. Totally different car.
Because for a second I saw that splash screen where they talk about how they're racing for a better life, and I go, I'm pretty sure you can get a decent price for a Camaro double S, but what do I know? I don't live in Need for Speed.
Well, you can actually get a good price for a restored El Camino of that year as well. This is specifically a 1970 Camino. Also, don't go in that gas station, it's a total trap.
In the sense that it will blow up split-second style, or...?
In the sense that you won't be able to re-accelerate past Caesar and his buddies, you know, in the half mile before the finish.
I also liked how he just slowed down enough as though he was saying, wait, I can't beat a Lambo, and then just, that was it.
Actually, he got edged out by the fact that my top speed is actually much higher than his. Most of the muscle cars in this game will top out at the low end of T4, which is about 188 to 190 miles an hour. The Lambo tops out at 197 and can even go faster than that if you're drafting in or nitrosing.
Do the opponents also get draft and nitrous bonuses as you do?
I've never seen them to. But in extreme mode, you need all the help you can get, so I'm totally fine with them not doing it. So welcome back to our old friend, the Makeup Time segment. And this time with obnoxious particle physics.
Well, I mean, they weren't that much of an impediment before, so... what are the chances it'll make a difference now?
And ice. So much ice.
Oh dear.
So Aspen is by far the worst event for ice, which sucks because even if you take away the ice, the time limits in extreme mode are still relatively tight. Ultimately, your best approach for dealing with the ice is to just not get on it in the first place if you don't have to. Because not only are you not able to control the car as effectively because you're skidding all over the place, especially at high speed, you also can't accelerate, which makes it very difficult for you to put the power down and save yourself from smashing into the wall. So you'll notice me trying to skid inside the ice a little bit by going into the snowbanks.
I will also say, too, that I find myself somewhat entertained at how inconsistently the roads are maintained to allow for significant ice patches where it otherwise appears to be very clear.
And these are public roads, very public based on the number of cars that I'm cutting between here.
Yeah, who needs to drive through the Rockies on their commute this regularly?
This turn is probably the most important turn in the entire event. If you don't take this turn perfectly, even if you make this checkpoint, you will not make the next one because it's 100% pedal to the metal. If you don't start at about 140, you have no chance of making the next one, even if you drive perfectly.
Well, as the altitude gets higher, I can definitely see that, man, there's just so much traffic out here.
And ice. I will admit that the random traffic really, really screwed me over hard on this run.
And for things like the Makeup Time events, just how random is the traffic?
Fairly random. The way that random traffic works in this game is that it will sort of show up around a general area. So, you know, on multiple runs, you'll see a car in certain places roughly, but it won't be exact. So what you're really seeing is just enormously bad luck on where the traffic happens to be whenever I go through.
I suppose it gets points for realism in that regard.
It does.
Those PS2 era trees in the background don't really, though.
Good eye. Fortunately, we made it through without too much trouble. And that was also a best by about half a second.
So here you are, just smashing your own records for fun, I guess?
It's something.
Independence Pass, Colorado. Talk to me.
Independence Pass, Colorado. This is probably one of the coolest levels in the game, honestly. It actually starts off with this nice cutscene. With Jack, for whatever reason, outside his car. You know, that place that's never ended well for him.
You have a hood, man, and it seems to be something like -15. Just put it up, save your ears.
I love how when you look at Jack in that shot, where the Audi passes him, you can see the signs on either side saying the elevation and danger, keep out. Now we have to catch the black Audi. The black Audi has boss AI, but isn't actually a boss. They don't have a backstory or anything, so I'm just going to refer to the black Audi as Driver X.
That's fair. Now, I'm also hearing alarms, and that is a grenade.
It is. Didn't you see the sign?
This is indeed avalanche clearing in progress, which, believe it or not, this is actually how they do it in some places.
Isn't America great? So let's race through this live missile test battery and make a risky overtake on Driver X.
I think they use C4 or something in the Canadian Rockies too, but
I'm not sure how they do this.
well, it's actually pretty interesting. I looked it up just to ensure that there is controlled avalanche clearance. It is apparently fairly common for clearance crews to use recoilless rifles, usually fired from helicopters. The only weird thing here is that it seems that the launch point is actually lower down on the mountain, which is where the avalanche is going to go. So I don't quite know what their escape plan is, but hopefully it's a good one.
Yeah, I'm sure. The American military thinks of everything.
This is just parks, honestly.
I'd also like to point out as we go through this section, all these little white blobs of snow and all these rocks, they do have physics. Especially the big black ones.
Yeah, I think I saw one going into a tunnel earlier.
Yeah, if you hit the white globs of snow, you will slow down. They won't usually affect your trajectory, but they can. Naturally, the solution is to just drive as fast as possible and, you know, pray.
Also, consider me slightly incredulous that they'd leave the lights on for avalanche clearance, but whatever.
Oh, I know. That's the cue that this is going to get serious, you know, if it wasn't already.
It'll get serious, but can we take it seriously?
We will have to, in fact, especially when the particle physics come back.
Oh dear. I hear that alarm again.
Yep, and the ice is coming back.
Let's see those rockets fly.
They're coming. They're coming fast.
You see, I feel like they've deployed slightly too much ordnance because I'm pretty sure that the avalanche control isn't supposed to carry large boulders with it.
Oh, you say that now. It's happening.
Someone in the Colorado Parks Department is very much overcompensating for something. Good job.
Thank you. Independence Pass is an awesome level. I just kind of feel bad for the guy in the black Audi, because he actually gets chunked pretty hard by one of those rocks.
You know, that's probably why he doesn't have a name.
Yeah, that's true. If he had a name, he would survive pretty much till the end of the game.
Rest in peace, Black Audi man. Or woman.
We salute you.
You'll be joining Zephyr in the sky.
And there it was.
Huh. So that's the Rockies.
That was the Rockies. I love the Rockies, but they kind of have to grow on you. They're a lot better, I promise, without the particle physics.
I'm reasonably certain they are. But now we get to go through Denver proper, I guess?
And cows. So many cows.